Another episode, another marine assault on a alien base. Let's have a look at how many they're going to have left. Because I've forgotten after a previous episode, we want the aliens. So, after this one is eliminated, they should have exactly 4 ground bases left, 3 of which will be under threat by our fleet that is heading out to the Kuiper belt. So, as long as we can hit the one around Neptune, then aliens are facing a finite resource problem in the near future. I love it. Marines, you know the drill. Drop, 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 like your humanity first. Oh, wow. Okay, so the Protectorate's come up with an amazing trade deal. They will give us 63 money and 35 influence in exchange for this level 3 organization and antimatter beam core reactors. Well, Mr. Banerjee, I am going to pay you exactly $2 to go away. Oh, you won't accept that? Well, you can bugger off without your $2. I offered you $2, off you go. Alright, Pluto bound. So this is our outer system scanny ship. We'll resupply that. That's just built itself a little bit of an outpost out here in the outer system. And it's going to be able to go exploring all the places that we might be interested in. It might head out towards Neptune, that might be a good location for it, join the other Voyager class ship, or it can explore a couple of these other objects that are close to the alien presence, maybe Pangu. I would be amazed if anyone has ever settled any of these in a regular game of Terra Invicta, so maybe I go settle Pangu or something. Alright, we made it happen. Mars now has a population above 50,000, which means that we can put some space resorts into orbit. And we might even be able to... Oh, that'll upgrade and then we'll be able to... I think we can also put a geriatrics facility somewhere actually on the planet itself. So let's have a look for a good candidate. Here's a base with some destroyed modules, for example. Let's lay a pair of geriatrics facilities. Oh, I can't power them. That's easy enough. Easily fixed. We'll put a fusion reactor there. Geriatrics facility there. Fantastic. So all the old people on Mars can go hang out at this base. That's where they can hang out. And we'll put a foundry here just for good measure. Bingo. Awesome. So we have succeeded in our goal. This system is now properly its own sort of ecosystem. It can sustain space hotels, geriatrics facilities, and that's without the reference to the Earth population. I'm sure there are still people who are commuting from Earth to use those facilities, but for the moment at least, Mars can sustain them on its own. The fact that a lot of this population is Marines, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's fantastic. Clearly we're shipping a bunch of them back to Earth to do Black Ops, so, it's a good thing. Now, I have been pulling ships away from Mars in order to provide reinforcements for elsewhere, but this is a wake-up call that Mars could probably use with a couple of more modern battleships in order to help it with its affairs. That said, we should be okay against these threats because, again, relatively old-school threat profile that left alien space pretty much towards the start of the war and are only starting to engage us now. So, our combination of plasma and point defense should be suitable for this particular audience. The older battleships only have the medium plasma arrays, which means they only have an engagement range out to about 800 kilometers rather than 1,000, so they do engage a little bit later on, but they also fire more frequently, albeit not as damagingly. They've also got the point defense phases as a backup for the nose phases, so I'm not actually worried about this giant sort of sea of missiles that is incoming, as long as it's not augmented by very heavy magnetic rounds, and as long as we're scoring kills at a reasonable sort of rate, which so far I think we are. In that Seaflower looks like it's really not long for the world, but you can see that the slightly harder hitting heavy arrays do really have a purpose. That was bad flying on my part. I exposed the ship to a sideways shot. That was poor, lazy flying. And also a reason to rush some reinforcements out to Mars, I think. We'll still win this. That's, I didn't physically see that mag round, and as a result, I paid for my hubris. Let's go hunt the last dreadnought. And we'll extend radiators. Really annoyed about that loss. That was poor flying. Won't make that mistake again. Bring the radiators in as we make a pass, just in case it has any functional laser arrays. Doesn't seem like it does. There we go. Alright, well, a little bit disappointing. Loss of a battleship, I would say unnecessarily. I think if I had better optimized my PD, I would have been in better shape there. And the Flight 2 Thesis is going to be the only battleship defending Mars until reinforcements can arrive from Earth, which is not ideal. That said, 46 exotics is a good haul. I will have to go to Earth. 3 Oxford dreadnoughts. Let's also, maybe we just go ship construction. I'll split one off straight away, but a Flight 2 is probably what I want for Mars. So let's produce a Flight 2 in Mars. And 4 more of them around Earth, and that should be a good series of reinforcements. Now, because I'm trying to finish the tech tree in order to get access to future technology, I've had to go and research all the shitty drive technologies, so I'm just going to, casually obsolete a huge number of these, including the grid drive, which is a good engine, just not at this stage of the game. So just obsoleting a huge amount of that stuff to get it out of the way, and then continuing on my way. I will start my antimatter reactors, just in case I don't get anything better. Let's go priority 2 on that, and let's slow down our fission pulse drives. Not in a hurry. Am in a hurry for the protium inertial torch, just because it's very cool. But we will keep pushing these along, because I would like to get to future technology and get a chance to re-roll the Daedalus torch. And if there was ever a time that I would appreciate a clone previous base tool, it's when you lay 16 bases at once on Ganymede. Like, yes, I'm only building 3 structures per base, but I could save myself some clicks if I could just clone the structure. I understand the devs are working on it, but for the moment, this is the solution. That said, an additional 16 mining bases on Ganymede should give us another kick in the resource department. And we're already, I think, in a position where we've done so much damage, or are going to do so much damage to the aliens, that our economic advantage is basically insurmountable. We will be negotiating from a position of strength. The aliens just don't realize it yet. But that's what the fleet is flying to the Kuiper Belt to do, to educate them as to the mistakes of their assumptions. We're not animals to be domesticated. We are a fully capable species. We are sentients. And we have lots of battleships, which, is a key factor when you're reclassifying whether or not a species is suitable for domestication. Alright, well, we've made it to the alien base around Neptune, so nukes away, Seaflower base. Good knowing you, there you go. And we're not going to hang around for obvious reasons. I don't think we really have anything in the neighborhood to reinforce the nuke fleet. So what's the best we can do? We've got a Voyager force that is around Proteus. So we could found a platform and try and fortify ourselves in the Neptune system. I know a lot of things, bad things are coming after us. But let's found that platform. And let's have a look at the station. So it's building a construction module and a fusion pile, and then when that's finished, because at the moment, oh no, it can build that straight away. Let's build that and a point defense array, just for whatever it's worth. And then as soon as this is complete, we'll go over to a ring core. And then Nuke Fleet 1, since there are no additional station targets for you, let's go hang at Plato Station until the station expands and you can use it as a reload point. But there we are. Aliens, all locations. They have only 3 mining locations left, and they are all around their Kuiper Belt base. And we're going to be paying that a visit very, very soon. Alright, finally. It's a bit late in the piece to actually get full use out of this engine, but we do now have the Daedalus torch, and we can research some cool other stuff besides. We don't want that, we don't want that, or that, or that, or that, or that, but the antimatter plasma core reactor 2 is worth getting started on, albeit all of these can now slow down a little bit and we can focus on getting future tech done up here. Not because it's particularly important at this point, but because it's just kind of cool. Antimatter production is well online. More MCs finishing in February. Expansion on Earth is fantastic. So what we need now is a ship that is going to pump our fleet value. We have done this before. I don't want the original student debt class ship, so we're going to delete that. Because that is hopelessly obsolete and I never built one. Instead, let's go to, do we want a dreadnought or a titan? I think we want a dreadnought. For this one, we're going to mount 2 Harlequin bays at the front, just in case we ever actually have to use the thing. And then 6 bays of Nemesis nuclear torpedoes, 3 nose phaser arrays to serve as defense. For power plant, we want the inertial confinement fusion reactor 3 with the beauty that is the Daedalus torch. Give this thing a whole bunch of KPS and speed. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then to give this a whole bunch of additional combat strength, we will, in case we need to actually use it, give it those 3. But if we slap 3 magazines on that thing, it should massively increase its combat strength. We'll add a lithium heatsink. Life is good. It needs a radiator. It needs a battery. It needs a bunch of armor, which will again drive up its combat value. So armor value 90 points forward, 5 points side, 10 points rear, 2,300 combat power in the student debt class attack bomber dreadnought. We'll use that design to denote the fact that it is in fact a very modern, advanced and dangerous ship. We will save it and find a shipyard where we can put the thing into production. Looks like Mercury is where they're going to go. So how much does a student debt class ship cost to produce? Oh, it's saved as the expedition. Okay, well, we're going to fix that quickly. Sorry, this is worth fixing. Ship classes, expedition class. We're going to upgrade, give it 91 points of for armor, save it as the student debt class. That is what we needed to do. Ship construction, student debt class dreadnought. And we'll produce 7 student debt class dreadnoughts with nukes, harlequins, and nose phasers around Mercury in 87 days. That should do wonderful things to the fleet power comparison, which is currently at about 50-50. So now we can outbuild them and keep shooting them down. I'm kind of happy with that. We've got about as much fleet power as the Hydra do. What we don't have is the control point value on Earth, but you know, we're working on it. We are probably going to have to move north of Panama and maybe move into Eurasia. I feel like we've done the Africa, Asia, South America, global south only thing. We're going to grow the economies to the absolute moon. That's one thing that we're going to do to try and build up the CP value. So one thing I've done is I've put India back on. Let's do that. Let's put India back on 50% economy just to see how high we can drive its CP cap. The caliphate is now at flawed democracy. What we really need to be able to do is switch it over to doing a little more welfare and economy. So the question is, can I stop it? I'm going to. What I'm going to do is temporarily stop the knowledge investment. So we're going to stop at flawed democracy for a moment just to push the economy up enough that it can make this process go quicker. We can't direct invest again for a little bit, but we will to pump the economy up. 6.3 is an improvement, but India is a perfect 10. What a place to live. We will bring the unrest down though, and as for South America, it's consolidating and then it will grow. But I think the next step is going to be Mexico, which has tremendous potential if we can take it. And then we probably want to secure the Russians, form the Eurasian Union, and plan our triumphant return to the lost people of Europe. Europe and America have seen better days. America is a totalitarian dictatorship with extreme levels of inequality, and the only thing that's going really well is the military tech is very good. A completely divided political system between who controls what. But hey, at least all the population are saying, America is awesome. Europe is, well, their GDP per capita has fallen. They're an anocracy. They again have seen better days. So I think we need to go help once we've consolidated a little bit more. And just as Brazil joins the South American Union, Action Group Enlightenment has made it all the way to the Kuiper Belt orbit that we wanted to send it to. It's only got 4k combat strength left because of the very low KPS that it has, relatively speaking, but what it does have is an awful lot of firepower. So I'm thinking we're going to want to found a platform in a moment. But before we do that, I'm thinking what we might want to do is nuke some bases. What do we reckon? So in order to found a base, we have to do a couple of things. We have to destroy the alien station that is in orbit, and then I think we're allowed to do it. I'm not sure if we have to clear the fleets as well, but for the moment, before I do anything else, let's target Crescent Moon base first. Lower the speed a little bit. Orbital bombardment firing. There we are. Did you see the nuke impact? Beautiful. Fantastic. So let's target Obsidian Sword. Fantastic. Let's target Iron Shard's base. Alright, a whole bunch more nukes went off. And then finally, Alien Surface Base Alpha. Alright, okay, so, and the way I've figured out Surface Base Alpha works is it deliberately does not target and destroy no matter what, so you can't accidentally fail the game. You do not destroy the wormhole, which is down there. So that's fantastic. Action Group Enlightenment. Pretty sure no damage taken because of the wonderful, wonderful nukes that we had available to us. Let's go engage Victor. Why do we need that much? Alright, we'll just go engage. Oh, because they're leaving. Okay, fantastic. Well, let's just go engage Alien Station Able and see what aliens turn up. Because once it's destroyed, we can found a platform, and that's what's going to give us the refueling and everything we need to make this basically our orbit. Now, I just want to check before we continue. All locations. Alright, fantastic. The aliens have no more income. None. They haven't even powered on the wormhole. I don't know if they get support from home with that, but, we're done. Okay, so they clearly will have a stockpile of resources with which they'll still be able to build ships, but the clock is ticking at this point. They've got no ability to replace their losses. I do. I have lots of shipyards. I'm building more mission control, both on Earth and in space. Eventually, I'm just going to be able to outscale them. We got this. At least this component of it. The Earth component of the game is still very much going. Alright, here we go. They've come out to play, or rather they've come out to defend their station. We have assault carriers, we have motherships, we have battleships, we have everything. And what we have on our side is a whole bunch of our dreadnoughts that will be going in sort of a phalanx formation, mutually supporting, engaging the enemy with a wall of plasma, 3 Thesis Flight 2 battleships, and 2 nuke boats that I'm going to have to tell to hold their fire until they can open up at the critical moment. So, everyone, pull in your radiators. Now is not the time. Let's just find the 2 nuke boats. Three, four, five, six. Oh, I wonder if I had to turn up the... I do wonder if all the alien ships have spawned. I'm worried that I have a... I need to turn that all the way up to 90. Not sure if that'll cause a Oh, wait, no, there's only 4 reinforcing ships. 4 reinforcing and 6 on my side. You know what? I'm going to roll back because I want the battle to include all the ships, and I think it's reasonable that it includes all the ships, so I'm going to roll back to the combat autosave with that setting changed. Alright, we're back in for a real slugfest. We are no longer holding fire. We have everyone's ship spawned in. Full phalanx formation. We're just going to go straight in for the moment with radiators pulled in. The key here, I think, is just to slaughter the smaller ships, which my ship should do normally. Once they're slaughtered, I'll re-enable the nuclear torpedoes to try and engage the heavy stuff. What is my range, by the way, to Resounding Condor, for example? Okay, so we're soon to be at engagement range. Looks like an awful lot of missiles incoming. I'm going to switch a lot of these phases to defense mode. Looks like a lot of their smaller ships are dying, as intended. Let's slow down. What needs to happen right now is that a lot of these phases that are currently shooting at ships need to not be shooting at ships. They need to already be engaging the massive wave of incoming. I can readjust that later. And then the Terra and the Xiaoyun should be allowed to fire some of their torpedoes at the mothership. Alright, I think we got enough phases to deal with the incoming. Ah, damn, we didn't manage to... I wanted to save one last volley of nukes, but that's okay. So there we are with the nukes launching. Another wave of nukes launching. Okay, what we've got happening now is I'm pretty sure we need to switch lasers back from defensive to Guardian again. Because at the moment, these lasers are not engaging the enemy because they don't have any projectiles to fire on. So whereas before I was having to force them to engage projectiles, now I want to give them the option to engage the mothership, because every centimeter of armor I manage to ablate away from that thing is worth it. Great, fantastic. That looks like a dead mothership. Hopefully the nukes now retarget. What the gorgeous wall of destruction. Heat is holding up everywhere, which is good. The nukes unfortunately look like they were all wasted. Okay, we've battered the Eternal Storm. So far the fleet is doing well. We'll extend radiators, bleed off any heat that we had, and then continue on to the alien station. Here you are. You can see everyone's going to start dropping their heat now. Not that we were anywhere near maximum heat capacity. The heavy plasmas don't seem to generate a huge amount of heat, nor do the nose phases. I think the key here is that we're not burning the drives. Most of the heat you generate doesn't come from weapon systems. It comes from burning your engines. And by not burning your engines, being in low profile mode with your radiators, works perfectly fine. Let's not use that button. Oh, it looks like some of the nukes retargeted an attempt to go to the station. That was obviously a fool's errand. Range is 1600 meters and closing. Check on radiators. We're basically expended at this point. I'm watching for them to stop glowing. Looks like Patrol did take some damage. This is not a custom named ship, unfortunately. Lost its Hydron trap and 2 of its forward phaser arrays. Very disappointing. Okay, everyone can go low profile again on the phasers. Layer defense array distance at 1300. We will engage again at 1000. There's about to be 1000. Looks like the aliens have a battle station that's actually engaging me with its coils at maximum distance. So I'm actually going to priority target that. I don't want that. I don't want it engaging with its long-range plasma. It is tickling, it is a bad thing, and it needs to die. Fortunately, with the dizzying array of plasma weapons at 1,000 kilometers range, blasting it apart should not be a problem. And then once it's destroyed, we should revert to not having a priority target anymore. We do not. So our plasma should now spread out. Beautiful thing. We had a fraction of their combat power, but we built a fleet that counters their fleet. And I genuinely think the fact the aliens only swapped to plasma and laser builds later on is a genuine weakness of their order. So I don't think we lost a single ship that was damaged. Some very heavy damage, admittedly, to some. But for the most part, 193 exotics in hand, which will probably be the last exotics that humanity will get its hand on in terms of significant numbers. We don't need armies or habs. Action Group Enlightenment. Although I guess if we are able to negotiate a... let's destroy the hab. Goodbye. We can now found a platform. With an additional fusion pile and a space dock. And then once this completes, it can become a ring core. And we are now firmly established in a base camp around the alien headquarters. Damn, does that feel good. There are still 3 victors around, but to be honest, with 261 KPS, I'm not going to chase them. I'm going to just defend my little station until I can refuel out here. I think we're in pretty good place. Let's just check what's happened to the fleet balance. Okay, so we've taken the lead in terms of fleet balance. One thing that will really boost our fleet strength is refueling Action Group Enlightenment. Cleaning up the aliens will also help, and I think we've got about 20,000 fleet power in construction, so we'll definitely get there. The problem is going to be the control points on Earth, and there I'm going to require everyone's patience. We are going to have to build more megastates, and we're going to have to expand beyond the global south in order to do it. I'll scale the heck out of the Caliphate's economy, I'll scale the heck out of India, and preferably also South America, but I may need Eurasia in order to pull this all off. And maybe Mexico. I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think is more acceptable. But now that we've got the base camp in place on the aliens, Earth is now a priority, and there's a lot of options on how we bring it home. Ooh, we're free to do additional direct investment for India, and we have the antimatter to fund it. So, India, what if I give you... What is your return on funding? Someone put this in a comment. See, that's not great. Like, increasing annual funding by 15, that's terrible. So no, I don't want to do funding. I want to do 200 additional points of economy. There we are. Push the GDP of the state to 281 trillion. And mildly increased its CP cost, not very much. But anyway, the living conditions, that's now 59,000 per person. Let's see how high we can push this. Like, it'll be fun. At the moment, we've got 4.7 billion people living to a standard that would not be out of place in the United States of 2022. But you know what? We can do better. The Caliphate, a little bit behind. It's already done its annual direct investment. I think South America has as well. It's got a little bit more. There we are, 11,000 per person and expanding. We'll take it. But we are probably going to need to move into Russia, but I won't do that right now. For now, I'm just going to enjoy the fact that our Operation Base Camp is complete. The aliens are basically diminished in their ability to build reinforcements, or if they can, they're limited now to stockpiled resources and any other bases that they produce. Well, I'll send a task group after it to destroy it. Nuke boat, Marines, it doesn't matter much at this point. The aliens just cannot be allowed to have an economy. Good stuff. Now, this is the dreaded global energy crisis event. If you get this at the wrong time with the wrong technologies, well, then you're kind of screwed, at least in terms of keeping the economy going on Earth. We can't actually do the fusion plants option to this one. We've got the technology, but we don't have 4.8k nobles in reserve. So we're going to have to use fission power as a long-term solution. All nations under our control suffer GDP loss and inequality increase. However, modified by local oil regions, which no longer exist because of climate change mitigations, and global fission and fusion tech levels, which are at their maximum because I have researched all fission and fusion technologies. So let's watch. India is at 55,000 per person, 1.6 inequality, 55,000 and 2.2. Entirely manageable. It's going to set back our utopia a little bit. It's not going to do great things for inequality, which means welfare might be the way to go sometime soon. Let's make that knowledge. I want to get that up to at least flawed democracy before I switch over to economic development and growth, because 10,000 is not as bad as it could be. And we're going to want to fix inequality as well. India will regrow the economy a little bit, but mostly we're going to have to switch a little more back to welfare in order to bring that back below 2. But other than that, we're doing fine. So the dreaded energy crisis event mostly dealt with. Alright, and unfortunately the coda of this episode is about to be recorded with a semi-broken microphone under odd circumstances. I apologise in advance. Here's the closeout. Alright, so this is Future Perun here, cutting in what's going to be a bit of an abrupt end to the episode after those dramatic events, because it turns out the next 2 months, roughly, of gameplay that I recorded, yeah, I didn't have my microphone on or something, so it's just me playing the game with no voiceover. So we're not going to do that. So there'll be a little bit of a time skip going into next episode, which feels okay because we still had the dramatic fleet action around the alien home plate in order to round out the episode. In terms of what's happening on planet Earth, an alien did manage to sneak through the net, so they are being investigated. They will be located by Jay and then appropriately shepherded away into detention with Rudy, to be used as consulting partners and maybe also as leverage in coming negotiations. The movement for control... Next episode is going to be all about fulfilling our victory conditions. It has to be at this point. India is growing absolutely out of control, and I need it to keep going that way because we need to push our CP value up as much as humanly possible. Basically what needs to happen is I've done some rough calculation, and there are too many CP on the map. There are too many control points on the map at the moment for me to possibly do my victory condition. So here's what needs to happen. All these South American countries need to be consolidated into the South American Union, and that union needs to be expanded both economically and in terms of its democracy value. One, because I care about the objective. Economy, because it increases its CP value while also taking more CP off the map. Then we probably need at least Russia, and we need Russia to consolidate a number of these other countries. Breaking into Europe, I might consider it. It's difficult. I'll look at it next time. And you may find this jarring because this is future me recording this observation of what I was thinking at this point in time. But I'm probably going to need Russia, and I'm probably going to need to consolidate some other countries into Russia in order to take some of those CP off the board. And then finally, we're probably going to need to, at some point, figure out a way to break into the United States because there's just too many control points represented by the US. Even after everything it has been through, this thing is still worth 6 by 24 CP. Like, the economy is still 15 trillion US dollars. Yes, inequality is extreme. Yes, it's a totalitarian hellhole. But it's still the US. So if we manage to do all of that, then we might be able to unlock our final mission. The other thing we're going to need to do in space is continually be active against the aliens because we don't want them to build out above 25% fleet cap. So I'm going to have to keep hitting their bases, keep hitting their fleets. hold them down, essentially. You'll remember one of our challenge objectives that we set for this run was we need to colonize every subsystem. So I've got a group going to Uranus. I have a group already in Neptune. We're going to colonize objects in both in order to round out the massive colonization we have going on. At the moment, there's some huge number of people living in space already, and we're going to expand that dramatically. There are 170,000 people living in space. I reckon we can get to 250,000 by the time this game is over, like 250,000 people living in space full time, which is kind of cool. We've fully colonized Ganymede, Io, and Callisto at this point. Yes, there aren't many people per base, but they are all colonized. I've considered like landing a whole bunch of stuff on Europa just, for the lols, basically. The other thing I want to do is I feel like we need to put one base around Venus just to say we have, but that's optional. What I do want to do just to show off is finish 7 more ring stations in Mercury so that we can actually have the full Dyson constellation. At the moment, you can see we've got the full Dyson constellation in the inner orbits. What we need to do is add 7 more to the extreme orbit in order to have the maximum possible density around Mercury. And then 14,000 people live on the surface itself in these various colonies, which are, as you can imagine, fully stacked. We will finish the tech tree. That seems like a very Academy thing to do. And then once we're in future tech, I'm just going to have to grind out like 50, 100 iterations of management of the management research for the 5 extra CP, just throwing insane amounts of research at it and basically only it in order to drive this cap up. I think I'll need roughly 900 to 1,000 to win, even if I start consolidating countries. So doable. I've set myself the goal of trying to close it out by 2040. At the time Future Me is recording this, I'm in 2038, middle of 2038 roughly, I believe. So I think we can do it by then. At the moment, our progress is 84% of population. We haven't quite got the fleet superiority yet, but we will. And then we need 75% of CP. We control 46%. So getting all that done by 2040, I feel, is a good, noble stretch goal. Obviously, glory to the Academy's fleet for securing the victory around the alien home station. That obviously puts us in a much better position. Looks like there are still a couple of victors to clean up, smaller fleets, but we can clean them up as soon as we're resupplied on December 9th. I'll start go hunting those fleets. There's no contest between fleets of 3 vessels and Action Group Enlighten with its 21 vessels. And of course the alien bases on the planet, well, there's only one now, Alien Surface Base Alpha, and it's been nuked and will periodically continue to be nuked so it can produce no resources of note for our enemy. I also do want to hunt down the remaining alien orbitals, not surface bases, orbitals, just so that there is no real permanent alien presence in our solar system at the time that we begin negotiations, because that seems like a pretty strong position to negotiate from. In any case, apologies for the phantom/missing months. It was a bit of a technical stuff up on my point. I do hope you're enjoying. Hope you enjoyed the fleet action in particular, and I will see you again next episode.